Find them. KC Cares is the intersection of the nonprofit and profit communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. This KC Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. I'm Ruth Baum Biggis. Well, the clock is ticking as we wind our way toward the end of the year. For nonprofits, this is a crucial time in fundraising as efforts are made to pull in those most needed funds before the calendar flips to a new year. According to experts, approximately 30% of all annual giving occurs in December, with 10% coming in the last 3 days of the month. 28% of nonprofits raise between 25 and 50% of their annual funds from their end of the year ask. So what goes into a successful end of the year campaign? How much time, talent, and treasure should go into such an effort? And what are the do's and don'ts? Here to help us unwrap the end of the year push is this episode of Ask the Expert with our own Dr. Philanthropy, Jeffrey Byrne. Welcome back, Dr. Philanthropy.
Thank you very much, Ruth. It's good to be here. And it's good to see you.
Okay, we made it to the end of the year.
Hooray.
That was real excitement. What should nonprofits look at as they create this kind of an effort, this last hurrah push?
Well, I think you have to go back, Ruth, and review the year activities and determine what worked, where you are from a fundraising standpoint, and what you need to do to push you over the goal line. So go back and review, number one, what has worked, what hasn't worked. Have we been able to do one-on-one solicitations? Have we been able to push out on social media messages and capture names, addresses, and were we able to turn those into funding appeals for various campaigns? Did our board members contribute 100% toward our efforts? How have our foundations come along? The foundation grants that we wrote during the year, are any of them outstanding? That is, have they not been acted upon and that we need to renew and make sure that we close and get the gift? Are we going to do a direct mail piece? Organizations, if you can believe it, Ruth, are still doing direct mail. And we have one client who is doing even a telephone solicitation. And by that, I mean that they are calling their top 30 donors. They thank them for the gift of last year. They let them know what we are doing this year, and we ask for another gift for the end of the year. Highly successful. If the executive director makes 30 calls, he will probably get 25 voicemails. He is still leaving the same message. Then what we do is we follow up by text, and we follow up by email, and we follow up by a letter with the same message in each area. So I think that, organizations, number one, have to go back and review what worked and what didn't work. And then number two, you've got to try to close on those solicitations that were made. Maybe they were made 5 or 6 months ago and you've never followed up. Those are pretty cold or maybe dead proposals. However, if we're into November, end of November, around Thanksgiving, you have no choice but to renew a call, renew an email, see if the funder will return your inquiry about the status of the proposal. I would send the proposal back to them in an attachment. Have our board members given? Have they also gone out and asked others to give? That's a good opportunity for to engage your board members. Get an army of donor supporters to help you with your solicitations. So, and as I throw out a number of different items, those would be what I would be looking for if I were to come in and survey an organization and help them think through now the next steps. Now, the next 45 days, what do we do? It gets very intensive. We've got to make sure that we are wrapping up and closing all the solicitations that we have open. We've got to make sure any new solicitations that we are timely and that we wrap up before the end of the year. I read your statistics and I thought that's a bit overwhelming, isn't it? That
Yes.
all annual giving occurs occurs in December, and that 10% comes the last 3 days of the month. If I had to be making my goal the last 3 days of the month, I never would have made one goal ever in the years I've been doing fundraising. If I didn't have everything done and executed and implemented starting in December, really early November, so that I could wrap up by mid-December, I was really pushing the envelope of not being successful. So I hope that our audience members have put together their plan and they're already implementing their plan. But if you haven't, those are a few tips and thoughts for you.
All right, there's so much in there to unpack. Let's go with you. You mentioned one that I thought would be fun to explore, and that's yes, people are still mailing things. And some organizations say they get a pretty good, open response rate. So if you are one of those groups that's mailing that kind of end of the year appeal, any thoughts about what should be in a piece like that? For example, I was in an organization yesterday. The debate was, do you send a letter or do you send something that's maybe a little prettier, a little eye-catching, a little different than just the standard, hello, we love you, please give?
I think that's a good question. I'm not sure in mid-November if you really have the opportunity now to put together an eye-catching appeal if you haven't already engaged your graphic artist or some creative on your within your organization to do that. But if you have that ability, I would say grab that person and make it as attractive as possible so that the receiver wants to open it. Number one, don't put a label on it. Hand address it. Don't run it through your meter of your postal machine. Put a live stamp on it. Those two activities will probably get you to open the appeal. Make sure you put your return address on it, as well. Some organizations put a little note on the outside about, what might entice the donor prospect to open. I sit on a board, Parsons Dance Company in New York, and we do a direct mail piece to about 1,500 donors at the end of the year. And yes, you're correct, Ruth. We are successful with raising money from donors. However, we have done that for probably 15 plus years. So our donors are ready for that and they remember that. You might also, if you're going to do a direct mail, make sure that you're dropping maybe an email to the donor or prospect that mirrors or is exact the same as the direct mail piece. Layering opportunities in your solicitation approach, I believe, is always successful. So do have more than one opportunity or more than one tactic that you're going to implement.
We're busy. We have to catch everybody where they are and multiple times, right? All right. So I want to ask you, if I'm getting something in the mail, or even if it's an email piece, the debate, stats versus stories. From your perspective, you've seen lots of things. What resonates? Do they both resonate? What do you choose?
Well, Ruth, I'm a fundraising nerd, as I've said, for the last 30 plus years of my career. So I love statistics. And so I'm an abnormal donor. Okay. I were putting together an appeal, I would be telling a story because, organizations need to tell the story about what they do, about the homeless individual that you served and that you provided food, shelter for, maybe some job skills. And now that person is living in his or her apartment or was able to get a meaningful job. I mean, going to the YMCA and talking about the swim program in the summer and how that swim program is saving lives because we're teaching 1,000 kids in our metro area how to swim. I mean, those are stories that relate and pull at your heart. So I would suggest that you do storytelling and then, but you've got to make the ask in the solicitation, whether you're doing it in person, you're doing it by email or by direct mail, you still have to make an ask. So I would not allow the donor to determine what they want to give, or you'll get a lot of $5 or $10, $15 checks. If you have a needs to raise $50,000 and you have a matching gift of 25,000 and you need to raise an additional 25, that's a great opportunity to do a one-to-one match. Those are techniques that will lift your response rate and will lift the total dollars given to the appeal as well. So I'd tell a story, ask for a specific gift, have a call to action, and then maybe have a few follow-ups. You might do the direct mail piece. You might then follow up by email to remind them that they got the direct mail piece, and they could have a link. Make sure you have a link from your, if you're going to do electronic communications, make sure you have a link where the donor can press one link. They can go directly to a homepage on your website and make the donation. Remember, donors want to do good for organizations, but they don't want to spend a lot of time messing through
doing it.
That's right.
So, do you put the little square QR code on something? Is that useful and helpful today? That takes you right to a donation page?
It is. And a lot of organizations are doing that. I see a lot of QR codes. Like I went to the Kansas City Ballet a few weeks ago to Jekyll and Hyde. Excellent. See it. But they had a QR code in their program about how to make a donation to the Kansas City Ballet. So I was at the Kansas City Symphony recently. Same thing. They have a QR code. I definitely have a QR code on a direct mail piece or a text or a electronic email as well. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay, I'm going to throw another pitch at you. What about in your messaging? Do you share a crisis story or an impact story? And by that, I mean, oh, it's the end of the year. We won't be able to feed the 800 families we serve without your donation, versus Fred has been able to come in and get healthy food. Your gift enables.
Well, I'll use two examples, and these are organizations that we're working with, the Salvation Army. I would use sort of a illustration about what your donation can do to help provide food, shelter, pantry, help a kid with a present. I think that is appropriate for an organization, social services that are doing direct services to clients. I would, if I were like at in the Hyman Brand Hebrew Academy, which we're helping with, I would do an appeal based on the crisis that is the war and the impact of that war on Jewish education and the reason and need for Jewish education for our children, so that the future generations understand and are supportive of Israel and the causes around the state of Israel. So I think you've got both options. I think it depends on what your organization is involved in and the timeliness of the situation as well.
We're talking to our own Dr. Philanthropy, Jeffrey Byrne, and we're talking kind of end of year giving. All right, Jeffrey, you bring up current events. How much impact does that have for nonprofits as they go out to fundraise? If we use this current year, and I hope this will live for perpetuity because it's great advice, but we've got wars in different places. We've got political issues. We've got an impending presidential campaign. We've got Congress kind of in a hot mess. I don't think that's any overstatement. How much does that impact then the donor? It's a lot of baggage.
Oh, I think it's a big motive. It's a big burden on the donor as he or she is thinking about their end of the year gifts and what they want to really support. How important is relief? A donation to a relief organization to support a charity that is providing, assistance in Israel, for instance, or if you have a natural disaster, to support the natural disaster as well. So I think it really depends, and it's determined by the different organizations. I think you have to have, however, a call to action. And I think that an organization needs to focus on, making sure that you are topical, that you're current, that your message is simple, it's not complicated, and that you make you make some offers. You might have one offer of different donation categories based on different services or intensity of, $100 does X number of days of X number of days, a $250 contribution does this, and a $25 or $50 contribution does this. Remember, just make it simple for the donor to respond and to make a gift to your organization.
You were reading my mind. It was like, keep it simple, stupid. KISS. Don't make it hard, just make it. All right, so the elephant in the room, and I know you did homework on this, Giving Tuesday. Are we oversaturated? Should you be doing it? And if you don't do it, did you miss an opportunity? Lots of questions, sorry.
Well, Giving Tuesday is another day of generosity, and it's more than just giving a charitable donation. Let me back up again a second and explain. Giving Tuesday is in its 11th year. I was involved in a small group over 12 years ago now when the Giving Tuesday concept was being formulated and hatched at the 92nd Street Y in New York. We had a few members of our Giving Institute board who were in the room at the 92nd Street Y when the ideas of Giving Tuesday were hatched. Fast forward 11 years later in 2022, and Giving Tuesday is in nearly 90 countries around the world. It is supporting millions of causes. Millions of donors are giving through generosity. And Giving Tuesday is more than giving a donation. It's giving of your time. It's maybe doing helping out someone. It doesn't have to be a charity. It can be a loved one. It can be your neighbor. It can be someone at your church. It can be someone at your synagogue. It really is, the word generosity is the quality of being kind and generous. And that's really what Giving Tuesday promotes. This year, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, once we get through Black Friday and Cyber Monday, we want a stamp on the calendar, and on November 28th, next Tuesday after next, will be the day of generosity around the country and around the world. And last year, in the United States, Americans gave $3.1 billion on Giving Tuesday to their favorite causes. That's just in the United States. That does not include the other 89 countries around the world. So we continue to be the most generous a country on the planet of the earth from a donation standpoint. And perhaps other countries are doing generosity in a different way. So, I feel like you've got to prepare for Giving Tuesday. You just can't expect someone to contact your organization and make a donation. You've got to prepare, and make sure that you are reaching out, whether you want volunteers, you want activities, or you want donations. You can go to our website, you can go to and download a toolkit at byrnepelofsky.com, www.byrnepelofsky.com. And you can download your own Giving Tuesday toolkit. And it's a how-to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps and what you need to do to create your own program on the 28th of November.
That's great. Should we be having more than one Giving Tuesday? Just saying.
Hey, I'm 365 days a year say you should be giving. And I know Lamar Advertising here in Greater Kansas City has worked with Byrne Pelofsky in the 11th year of promoting Giving Tuesday through billboards throughout our Greater Kansas City community. So I have to put in a little plug to Lamar Advertising for their support and their contribution toward Giving Tuesday and being able to reach hundreds of thousands of individuals through their billboard awareness campaign. So thank you, Lamar, for doing that.
They're a great company. They do a lot of good support with lots of nonprofits. Okay, so you're saying go ahead and do something on Giving Tuesday. If it's not asking for money, maybe it's asking for that time and a commitment, or inspiring perhaps your regular donors to say, hey, it's a day, we appreciate you, go out and give of your whatever. Okay, you've convinced me that maybe everybody should be doing that. It just seems like my inbox gets overloaded, as I'm sure yours probably does too. So any words of wisdom to the recipient of these messages? I mean, how do you decide? Do you give $5 to every cause, or how do you weed through it?
Well, I think, donor has their priorities, and they have a priority. Or if a donor doesn't have a priority and is getting a solicitation, then it might be your message that gets them to respond. It might be the urgency. It might be the call to action. It might be the nice graphic that is downloaded on their text or on their email. I give to about five causes, and the 5 causes I give to, I don't give on Giving Tuesday. However, I know that because I give at the end of the year, and that's the way I make my charitable contributions. Everyone has a different way of making it. So I think it's good to be consistent in putting opportunities in front of your donors throughout the year, as you said, not just one day a year, but throughout the year. And I believe that will help your overall fundraising program. And we hope that Giving Tuesday is like a little capstone and a little dollars in the till, or volunteers at your organization. If you're a food program of providing food, or if you're a social service organization, or if you stop by your children's school to say thank you to the teacher of your children. Right. It's as simple as thank you and patting someone on the back and saying you're doing a great job. That's an act of kindness. That's what Giving Tuesday is all about.
So how do we weigh the Giving Tuesday opportunity with the end of the year? Because I mean, they're 5 weeks till December 31st when you're writing that last check to get it in this tax year, for example. How does an organization try to figure that out and not hitting the donors too many times?
Yeah, well, I hope that you've already factored that into your overall fundraising plan, because if you're just going to if you're just thinking about how you're going to approach the end of the year, you're probably not going to be successful. So, if I were just thinking about now how I was going to approach the end of the year, what I would be doing is I would be prioritizing the highest giving opportunities that are available to me and try to close those between now and the end of the year. If you have a well thought out program, which a lot of organizations do, and especially if you're using Giving Tuesday as an opportunity, I would promote that beforehand, and I would promote that afterward as well. I would report back to my donors what the responses were on Giving Tuesday. Do you have any motivational messages? Did you have any acts of kindness? Provide those in your talking points, in your appeals, so you can use Giving Tuesday to help wrap up the next 33 days of the calendar year in your efforts. I really hope organizations will rally. They rally their volunteers, they rally their board members, they rally their staff. Remember, staff are an internal constituency that want to support your organization and should be offered the opportunity to give to your organization as well. Don't forget them. They know you better than anyone else.
We have just a couple of minutes left. I know we focused on end of the year. Is this the time to be getting your plan together for the next year? Is this the key time to plan that, or are we even a little late at this point in the calendar?
Well, I think you're late in the calendar if you're if you have plans for January and through the end of next year. I think your board of directors are probably approving, or your development committees are reviewing development plans for the calendar year 2024. You're putting together your volunteers, you're putting together your appeals, you're thinking about what types of strategies and solicitations are going to work, what didn't work this year. I mean, I would do a dirty down and dump about what did and did not work in 2023, and then try to tweak it and improve it in 2024. So I think there are a lot of opportunities to think forward. But I also say, take a little time out for yourself during the holidays and relax and think about the wonderful accomplishments you've had this year, your organization's had this year. Savor the moment and renew yourself for 2024.
I like that, dirty down and dump. That's great. I think you ought to, trademark that one. So it's be planful, be intentional. It sounds like don't miss the great story. Make sure you have a call to action, because if you don't, who's going to donate, right?
I mean, you have to give someone a reason to want to give to your organization. I think that organizations, for instance, that I support, for instance, the University of Missouri, they have a call to action about a program within the political science department that I'm going to support that will be implemented in 2024. So it's important that a donor think ahead if you're going to make a major gift and how you want that used, or if I'm going to make a $10 gift, I want to make sure that that's being used appropriately and it goes to accomplish what I hope it does and what the organization says it's going to in the appeal. So and remember to let your donors know what you did and what their gifts impacted the organization or the services or the people you are providing for, because feedback and you writing a story to them to let them know how their contributions helped is part of the overall stewardship effort of fundraising. Stewardship is so important. You don't want to be in front of the donor just asking. You want to steward them throughout the year. You want to give them an opportunity. You want to say thank you in a number of different ways throughout the year so that when you do approach them again, whether it be through social media, direct mail, one-on-one solicitation, that you are not just always going to them with your hand out, but you're saying thank you. And certainly the first of the year and the first quarter is a great time to remind your donors about how they impact your organization and about what you're thinking about in the upcoming year.
Well, we're going to say thank you to you, Dr. Philanthropy, for great advice on end of the year, Giving Tuesday, etc. We just encourage our audience. You can find us. We go live. It's on our website. But thank you, Dr. Philanthropy. It's been great.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you for joining us for Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're produced by Charitable Communications, which is also a nonprofit. This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation, www.kauffman.org. If you'd like to be a guest on Casey Cares or underwriting opportunities, you can visit our website, kccaresonline.org, and spread the love. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Casey Cares Radio and Instagram at Casey Cares Online. And don't forget, you can catch us on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1510 AM and 94.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on Casey Cares.